here it is.
Everything is not okay. Everything, well, it's not okay.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Welcome to the Artist to Artist show, where we have artists and musicians on from all walks of life. We do some interviewing. We get to know them a little bit. It's kind of a way to reach out to artists and learn a little bit about their songcraft and their creative process and all those wonderful things. Welcome to season 2 of Artist to Artist. And our guest this evening, it's an honor to have Ms. Raine Stern here this evening. Welcome, Raine.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
How's it going tonight?
It's good. Just a little busy. Speaking of live streaming, which hello and welcome everyone. I've been figuring out how to maximize my live streams on TikTok and various other platforms. And so yeah, I've been going through so many different programs like OBS and Ecamm and my Apollo versus a mixer versus my phone versus the Sony camera. There's a lot to figure out, and it seems like every time I make a step forward, something else ends up going wrong. So I have to kind of figure all of it out. But once I'm able to really get all my ducks in a row, I'm gonna have some really, really cool, fairly high production value live streams. So yeah, so tonight's been me running around gathering some more items and little toys from Guitar Center and Apple and wherever I needed to go. But other than that, other than being a busybody, I'm just here, man. I'm just here figuring it out.
Yeah, this live stream stuff, it's not ever going to change. It's not going anywhere. It's just going to be
for sure
a little bit more. And I remember the first time we set up for this show, it was all a new process. So I think I ran to Guitar Center 3 times in like 2 hours because you need this connector, you need that. So it's,
and
it's
here in LA. Oh yeah, for sure. And here in LA, it's like crazy because you hop in your car and first of all, it's like it might not be the jungle anymore, but I don't know that it's any less safe. Or any more safe rather. Because LA is crazy. But then by the time you get anywhere, you've already spent like a 10th of your day just getting there.
Right.
And then so yeah, if you realize that you missed something, man, being planned and coordinated is highly important and valuable.
Yeah.
Regardless of the field you're in.
Yeah.
And I would argue, even though it might seem like counterintuitive to the arts because arts gets this brand of creativity and it is, but it's like because of that and because of the pressures as an independent person to be highly organized, like you really really do need to be that much more like on top of your ish, because if you're not then yeah, you're going to spend not just a 10th of your day, you're going to spend your whole day trying to just figure one thing out. So yeah.
As artists, we have so many different hats, so many different roles that we have to play. And, I tell young people these days to say, learn how to do it all.
Oh yeah.
Be as self-sufficient as you can be, because times have changed. They're not, it's not, a big label is just going to hand you, 5 million for a record or two anymore. Those days are done. So if you can make some noise on your own, being self-sufficient, then a label head is going to see that and be like, man, she's already set up. She's all ready to go. All we got to do is give her a push.
But you also have to be kind of careful with that balance, because to some extent, they still want something they can build. So it's kind of crazy because you do want to be technically proficient, because at the end of the day, like, they're realizing that now more than ever, because of technology, being an artist is like throwing people into like a big pen and just being like,
Wolves.
all right, duke it out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so uh so you have to fight for that. But on the same side, like flip side of the same coin, like if you come out of the gate like being the because a label provides you with various tools. A label
Sure.
isn't, a label provides you with distribution, but they also provide you with writing and recording. They
Oh
also
yes.
provide you with a management team and
Management.
publishing.
Yeah.
So if you are like your own recording app part of the label, and then you're also utilizing social media and you're getting on like TV or you're doing big interviews or things like that independently, then you're also kind of doing like your marketing. And
Right.
then if you go through like some independent or some type of other distribution to some extent, like you can't really, even being independent, you're not really ever truly independent.
Right.
But
Right.
even then, like let's say you do your own distribution through like DistroKid or something like that, which is this is not me like suggesting any of this, it's just like me kind of laying the groundwork for my point, which is that then I think you can almost come out of the gate too hot, because then labels and teams, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I've definitely noticed some people on various social media platforms being really, really, really good at what they do,
Mm.
almost to the point of like viewer suppression. And I can't help but, maybe I'm reading into it, but I can't help but notice a pattern of this, like people who are great are, maybe doing well and getting uh attention and signage from labels, but people who are like extremely self-sufficient and are just like off the charts good are weirdly like not getting the attention or support they deserve. And
Mm.
maybe that's just like, maybe my bubble sphere of what I have taken notice of is just like
Yeah.
coincidental, but that's just something I've noticed. It's a small pattern that I've begun to notice. Maybe there's something to it, maybe there's not, but we'll see. Time will
Yeah.
tell.
True. That makes sense. I mean, I think what a label is going to do is just kind of lift you up from where you are, and then they're
Right.
going to bring in their team to kind of lift you
Right.
into places where we may not be able to get to.
Right. Absolutely.
So it's definitely a good thing, but I think leading up to that, as much as you can know on your own and be aware of, even
Oh
from
yeah.
a business standpoint, is very, very wise.
And not hesitating too, because like if you because the thing is when you come into this industry, like in some regards, unless you grew up with parents who did this stuff and were thigh deep in it, which then you're already kind of plugged in. But let's say you're not plugged in, like there's so much you have to learn, and there's so much that's a mystery to you. You're
Yeah.
really like waiting in the dark,
Yeah.
and like waiting through the dark rather. And so I would just say,
Oh,
don't be
waiting
afraid
in
of
the
that.
dark and waiting through the dark.
Waiting through the dark and waiting through the dark.
Yeah.
Waiting in the dark. Yeah, for sure. Unintentionally poetic. So I think like shoot your shot. Um, and shoot your shot like sooner rather than later, and keep
Yeah.
shooting your shots, because this is coming from my own lived experience of, I've got people from back when I was a teenager that are like, where is that song? And I'm like, oh yeah, that same song that's now 7 or 8 years old. Like at
Yeah.
some point, I think you just have to go, yeah, you know what? Like maybe I don't know what I'm doing, but just go for it and start, you know, I know you might be, we're all attached to our art, but at some point you have to, and not at some point now, the time is always nigh.
Mhm.
You have to just like test on yourself, because nobody else is going to test on you.
Right.
So you have to test on yourself, and nobody said, especially if you're independent, that you can't like re-record or re-release something 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years later.
That's what a label can help do as well.
Absolutely. So I think, um, I guess my unsolicited advice to anybody would just be, whatever it is, especially if it's music, like stop waiting for the right moment and create those moments for yourself.
For sure.
And the sooner that you start, it'll take a few years, but the sooner you start, the better, obviously, because then you'll find yourself after a few years being like, wait, so I dropped 50 songs, and now like people are actually starting to notice, and they're not gonna. Your true fans are gonna go back to the dialogue,
You don't want the new stuff.
the catalog rather. Yeah. So
They're gonna grow with you.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear what you've got in the future. We'll have to maybe work on some stuff together because I think you're tremendous talent. So how did we tell me how we met?
We met at the Hotel Cafe for the Led Zeppelin tribute show.
Right, with the Sunday Review.
What's that?
With the Sunday Night Review.
Yeah. Yeah, that Hotel Cafe is really close to me, isn't it? And we did I did a couple songs. Gosh, which Led Zeppelin tunes did I do? I've already forgotten. I did Since I've Been Loving You.
Yep.
And
I can't remember the other one you did. I know you did. Oh, you didn't do Cashmere, did you?
No. So a woman was created.
Was created below. Bum, bum. Oh man. I'm drawing a blank, a Led Zeppelin blank.
It's cool. One of us will think of it before this is over.
Yeah, but you slayed it that night. I was
Thank you.
incredibly impressed, and it felt like I was telling everybody else around me when we were watching you. I felt as though, we were watching a moment where we could say, "Man, remember when she did that at Hotel Cafe? We were in the room for that." I mean, that's a kind of a rare thing when you're like, man, we saw Young Nirvana in like '89 and there was like 20 people there. And it felt like that kind of moment, not to put all that pressure on you. I know what it's like, but it felt like we were witnessing something, a rising talent. And
Thank you.
I admire you quite a bit. Now you're a multi-instrumentalist, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I my primary instrument, the one I've played the longest, is guitar. But I also play keys, and that, man, my relationship to these various instruments. Okay, so my older brother, Josh, he picked up bass, and within a year, I had also picked up guitar. And so there was always like a bass lying around the house for about as long, a little bit longer than I'd had access to a guitar. So, I spent obviously the vast majority of my time playing guitar, but that very quickly like translated over, and I had experience of like watching somebody learn how to play bass. Sure. So my bass chops are pretty good. They're not like, I would definitely say that as long as we're not doing like jazz,
Yeah.
Or like intensive gospel music, you could probably take me on tour on bass. And I'd love to get a lot better at the instrument, but I feel pretty competent on guitar. Drums, man, when I was like 14, I did this thing where I was like working for this woman on her farm, doing really odd jobs, especially for a 14-year-old. I was like tying grapevines. She had a vineyard. I was feeding her chickens. I was helping her like organize things in an Excel spreadsheet for her taxes.
Wisconsin, is it? Wisconsin?
This was in Wisconsin. Yeah, I grew up in a little town called Monticello up until like middle school, and then I finished the rest of my education there in New Glarus. Spotted Cow for anybody who's New Glarus Brewing Company for anybody who's may or may not be tuned in from there. Yeah. So basically the reason I say all of that is because I did all of that so that I could save up money, and I ended up buying my own laptop with a little webcam because I really wanted to have my own little freedom to do things, but also because I wanted to be able to like FaceTime or Skype my friends or whatever at the time. Yeah. And then I bought a drum set, and I don't remember anything else I might have gotten, but those were like my purchases for that summer. And I had that drum set for, maybe a year or two, and then I had to sell it, and And then I didn't play drums until this year again, like 2022. I've physically sat down at a drum set. I've been around musicians for a long time and played
Yeah.
drums. But it wasn't until this year, gosh, like in the late spring, that I bought a drum set again, this one that's right behind me.
Great.
And I've been getting my chops back up to speed. So yeah, you know, I'd really like to be like really proficient at all of them. I think that I'm to a place, as some of you who check out like my Instagram or my TikTok or whatever, you'll see that like I can play, especially, you know, pop rock, blues music, on all of these instruments pretty well.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't give me like a crazy genty, like multi time signature changing metal song to play on drums quite yet.
Yeah.
Give me another year or two. Then
Is,
let's revisit that.
the guitar pretty much speaks to you the most. That's
Yeah.
the instrument that you would turn to in your
Yes.
darkest hour.
Yes, absolutely. This is the one I
Gotcha.
feel like I can sing on. So
Gotcha. Ooh, that's good. And you also make that guitar sing.
thank you.
Not everyone can do that. I don't think personally that I can make the guitar sing, but there's certain players that can really make it. You know, you just hear it, and you're like, okay, that's definitely Jimi Hendrix, or that's definitely Jimmy Page, that's definitely Jack White, that's Edge. You know,
It's like it feels vocal. Like it's you know, like our voice is our most personal instrument. Even if like it's not that you can't make drums or make really any instrument
yeah.
soulful and emotional, you absolutely can.
Oh yeah,
But to get to a point where it feels like you're saying something, and because of just like the programmed nature of like how personal and emotive human voices are, and also how like when people I like it when people compliment like your playing, which is great, but also when people compliment your tone, which
Mm,
comes from, you know, the make and the model of the guitar, and it comes from the wood and the strings and the whatever, and it
pedals.
comes from the amp, and it comes from all of those choices that over time as a player like you are, you know, kind of carving out for yourself.
Yeah,
But it also comes from you, like your fingers and the like how your own sustain and your own tremolo and vibrato and bends and speed and all of that stuff. So phrasing. So, you know, yeah, I think if you can find a way to make it feel like it's you and
mhm,
not just a guitar, that's when it really like stands out to people.
right,
Um,
right.
yeah, anyways,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I find I'm primarily a singer, vocalist, so you kind
you're
of.
great.
Well, thank you. Gosh, thank you. Coming from you. So yeah, I think there's a deep emotive energy that that really can't be taught in
Yeah.
certain people. I think you can't teach someone to sing like Johnny Cash or how Kurt Cobain did it, or Nina
Sure.
Simone, or
Oh, Nina
you
Simone's
know,
great. I was just listening to her last night. Yeah.
yeah, she's amazing, or Aretha Franklin, or you can't really teach that. I
Jeff
don't think.
Buckley.
It can't be taught. It's
No.
impossible to capture. I literally think that it's just how you feel inside. Like when I sing, my heart is just beating on my sleeve, and
Yes.
I don't put any boundaries on myself. I think some male singers, they think, oh, I don't want to sound like Tori Amos, or I don't want to. It's like I have no boundaries.
Right.
I just absorb from anybody, and I'm vulnerable up there, and I want to be vulnerable because I think when you make yourself vulnerable, that's when you touch people. That's when you really reach people with your voice and
Yeah.
challenging. I did Time After Time by Cyndi Lauper, and Aaron Steinberg, who I was good fortune to perform with. He's like, "Would you want to change the key?" I said, "No, no, I'm going to work at it until I can make
I'm gonna
sure I can
figure
hit
this out.
Cyndi Lauper's to get where she needs to be." And I think, and the reason that is because first of all, you got to get to the notes. You got to be able to get to the
Oh
notes,
yeah.
but at the same time, when your vocal range is here, and that hers is like here, that's where the magic is. You know, that's where that magic of just barely reaching that note. And I think about, Kurt Cobain's performance of Where Did You Sleep Last Night at the very end. He was very, very much at the top of his range. And that's where the motive power was,
Yeah,
delivering that.
you bring up great points because this is actually it might be like my hot take on this, but this is a conversation I was because you mentioned Nina Simone and we're both mutual fans of well, a lot of the people you've mentioned, but like Jeff Buckley for sure. And
Yeah.
that's somebody that, people would come up to me when I was a teenager or early 20s, like after a show and be like, you know, you sound you kind of remind me of Jeff Buckley. He must be an influence. And
Wow.
believe it or not, I didn't even know how much of a compliment that was because I didn't really know Jeff Buckley that well. And so I didn't really like I couldn't have called to mind like a song of his. Um
Yeah.
and so when I was like 20, I think after getting that maybe for the fourth or fifth time or something that I could
Wow.
remember, then I was like, and trust me, like when I was 19, whatever, I was not as good of a singer as Jeff Buckley when he was like in his later 20s, which I think is when we have the most like recordings of him from.
Yeah.
For sure, definitely not there.
Late
Um
20s.
yeah, he was like 28 or something when he really popped off, but um anyways, but I eventually like looked him up and started listening to him and was getting I remember like being in the bath and like listening to him and like just get my whole body just like chills. I was like
Yeah.
so moved. I'll never forget that. And that's really like impactful because I don't mean for this to like come off wrong, but I don't mean to be like, oh, coming from me. Like I just mean like I don't mean I'm not easily moved. I think I'm actually very easily moved because I'm very like vulnerable and stuff
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
connect to people pretty easily. But
Yeah.
because of that reason and other reasons like I don't think I'm like extremely impressed that often. And
Yeah.
so like I was just very impressed with Jeff. I think he's a true artist through and through.
Yeah.
Anyways, I have a tendency to be tangential, quite tangential when I'm like talking about things, but
Yeah.
and just ramble on. But you bring up some good points. I think that like so I was listening to I Put a Spell on You yesterday
Yeah.
by Joss the by Nina Simone or performed by Nina Simone and then the Jeff Beck and Joss Stone cover, which is
Yeah.
also great. It's like faster and like more
More.
more more in the pocket and stuff.
Yeah.
And Joss Stone has just got like a killer powerhouse vocal on her.
Absolutely.
However, I remember actually listening to the Joss Stone Jeff Beck version first and then going back and listening to Nina Simone. And Nina's like almost spoken about it a little
Yeah.
more. And
Yeah.
she's got such a unique, rich, darker, almost kind of leaning tenor
Sure.
timbre.
Yeah.
And she also is like uglier in her performance, but I understood the song more. Like, and this is a part of art that I think is not like, oh, long forgotten, but just like uh there's a reason and sometimes I feel really conflicted about it where sometimes I'm like I love that everybody has the access to music and all of this technology and the ability to express themselves and things
Yeah.
and like kind of where that could take the future. But there's also this other part of me that's like, yeah, but like music is better when people who study it and live it and breathe it get to decide like what's good. You know what I mean? But like, and so I feel like both of those things simultaneously. Um and the reason for that is because it's like people now might at first glance like not even realize how great Nina Simone is.
Yeah.
But I likened
Yeah.
this to eating food where it's like you just put like straight up like a donut in a person's mouth and they're gonna be like, yeah, that's instantly yeah, oh, my pupils are dilating. Okay, great. I like this. But you give somebody else like, I don't know, like dried salted seaweed or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it might be like an acquired taste, but I guarantee you that the seaweed is gonna like give you more nutritional value for longer.
Right.
And I just think that that's like something that kind of ugliness of almost like
Right.
pushing yourself to your max range to the point where like it's getting tense and it's getting
Right. Exactly.
hard and it's getting ugly is
Yeah.
like also a part of the art expression
Yeah.
that I wish people had a little more patience for, because not everything, not all good things come quick or come
More polished.
come polished or tasty,
Yeah.
you know?
I agree. I think I find art a lot more exciting when you get the flaws. I mean,
Of course.
I would rather see, you know, Bruce Springsteen with an acoustic guitar and a harmonica doing Dance in the Dark than the polished. Actually, I love the recorded version too, but I think what I'm getting at is that I'm not attracted to perfect art. Perfect art does not move me. A
Mm-hmm.
perfect portrait of someone does not move me. A perfect scene does not move me in art. A perfect pop record does not move me. I may appreciate it, but it doesn't. I think when you fiddle with it too much and it's too polished, it sucks the life out of it. It sucks the life out. And a perfect example of, once again, Nirvana is that Nevermind. I'll hear, Drain You from Nevermind or something like that live. And then you hear the recorded version and it's just too much. It sucks the life and the emotive power and energy out of it.
Um,
I have no, I don't, perfection in art is not in my vocabulary. It's a
yeah,
dangerous thing, I think, and it numbs your soul, what you're trying to present. I mean,
yeah,
don't get me wrong, I love big produced records like The War on Drugs or the Killer stuff or whatever. I love that, but the songs are so good. The songs are great, so they
yeah,
kind of need that. But at the same time, I'm just not attracted to anything perfect. I think the magic is in the flaws. The magic is in when somebody drops their guitar, they make a noise and they make it part of the song, like they did in Creep with Radiohead. That
yeah.
that was an accident, and they kept it, and that makes it beautiful, and it makes it dangerous,
Right.
and so.
Dangerous in a different way, because you've mentioned like it being dangerous, like what you're talking about being dangerous in like a couple different ways. Like it's, I do think it's kind of like a food pyramid. It's like I don't think we should not have really, really perfectly produced music and perfectly produced art, but I just think like uh absolutely not at the expense of like our Nina Simone's and our
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain's, like not at the expenses of like your Rain Stearns. And like I I feel like I'm this blend of like like mostly polished, but also like not at the expense of like my expression. Like if in order for me to make the piece of art that I'm trying to make and tell the story that I'm trying to tell you, I have to sing like a chord that's all like ugly semitones apart
Yeah,
from each other.
like Jeff
And
Buckley would.
yeah, exactly. And then like, and then, like scream at some point in the song, just to scream. It doesn't have to be on key. Like just because that's what it is. I have, I have a tendency sometimes when I'm playing guitar solos, I can like see almost project myself into myself from the past, and just like these moments where like if you look at videos of me, like every now and then my face goes past the microphone like this, and it's like I'm playing and I'm just like making these guttural sounds while it's happening, but I'm
Yeah.
not thinking about it at all.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. Like I have moments where like I'm playing guitar solo on a record and then somewhere else else in the room there's a microphone that's still capturing sound and you can hear me like, yeah, like you can hear that stuff in there. But like when you're listening to the song, you're like, yeah. You're like,
Yeah.
wait,
And I think
yeah.
and I think there's because you know your craft so well, there's actually, you know, not perfection, what's the word I'm looking for? Incredible craft in what you're doing, in the flaws, because
Control maybe?
Nina Simone and Kurt Cobain, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, it's like
Not bustling.
control.
They were wild, so but they knew exactly what they were doing. So
Right.
there's a craft in that and a know-how,
Hmm.
but also the courage to be dangerous and delivered in a way that, not to say they don't care, because that's a cop out, and that's, I don't believe that. I think they just had the courage to just go for it, and a drive in them, and an innate talent to deliver it with such fine precision, but
Yeah.
with tons of flaws. If that makes sense, it's hard to
No, it
explain.
does. You said not perfection, but and I offered up the word control because I think that's kind of like jazz. Like really, really good jazz musicians are not
Yeah,
like really making mistakes. They're very intentional about what they're doing, but it's the ability to create tension and release
right,
in a very controlled
right.
and in a very
That's it.
way.
They know what they're doing, and
Absolutely.
not to put myself anywhere near those greats, but I knew that reaching, if you fall, I'll catch, I'll be waiting. I knew that I'm creating tension because I'm just kind
Yeah.
of barely getting it, and
Right.
my heart has to push me through it.
Right.
I,
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it for
my
sure.
heart literally said, Brent, you're up there in front of a lot of people. You have to,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pull it, because I don't think you have it in you, but your heart does. And I
Right.
always see myself as a musician, honestly, Rain, that little craft with a huge heart,
Right.
and your heart, when you get up there, I just got the chills, is gonna get you to those notes, because you're in that song, you're in that moment, you've waited years to sing it. It means a
Yeah.
lot to you,
Yeah.
and somehow your heart is gonna pull you through. And
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like there's all these nerdy parts of me and these simultaneously like spiritual parts of me. I'm very like yin and yang about these things. There's a part of me that's like your heart and your excitement
yeah,
uh pulls you, like gives you this extra boost of
yes,
adrenaline, and like it's almost like you breathe for real for
yeah,
once so that you can
yeah,
actually like hit those notes. So there's a part of it that's just like really physiological, but but like the other part of that is just like the spiritual feeding the emotional, feeding the mental, feeding the
yeah,
physiological. You know what I mean? Like it filters down like that. So it's like you have to open this up to
right,
like let your body do
right,
this thing that it might
yeah,
not otherwise have been
yeah,
capable of. So you can kind of look at it as like, oh, well, it's really just in your body. Like, and like let the buck stop there. Or you can recognize, but why is it that people can't do it unless they do this,
yeah.
So
You got to open up your heart.
you
You
gotta,
gotta,
man.
you got to be
Yeah,
vulnerable.
there's
You got to be
something there.
vulnerable. And moments like that, I have to have a sip of water, take a deep breath,
Yeah,
get into a place that isn't always comfortable.
right.
It's never comfortable actually going there, but that's how I have to do it to get into that. If I was singing it to a puppy, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But I had to get into a space and take a deep breath and say, all right, you got to deliver this, because this song means a lot to people. It means a lot to you. You've waited a long time to do it. And I think
A puppy better be cute.
the greatest singers go for the notes that they can't hit.
Oh
If you
yeah.
never go for the notes that you can't hit, you won't reach where you need to be as an artist. I don't think you have to
Yeah,
have.
you miss all the shots you don't take. I
Yeah,
think that's definitely true with me. Like when I was first writing songs, and I've continued to do this. but I've, obviously over the years I've been like finding myself and my voice at the same time, but I was always writing like these guitar parts and these vocal parts, especially vocal parts that were compositionally and melodically good,
Yeah.
or great even at times, but I just simply could not execute them. But I'd have these moments of like, I can remember being like 18 and recording myself like just on like a voice memo or something,
Yeah.
and then being like so sad about how unable I felt to portray and convey like what was in my heart and what was, what was like the to really match the quality of the song itself, and I would sometimes sit there and get spiral and go, am I gonna have to like hire somebody, like other people, to perform my songs? And
Wow.
oh
Wow.
yeah, for real,
Wow.
especially to sing them.
Yeah.
But then around that year I also got like my first MacBook and started like in an interface and actually started recording myself. So I think most people can sing. I just think that it requires time and discipline, and that ultimately, as frustrating as it is, it's unlike any other instrument where it's your body, dude. Like
Yeah.
your own bone structure.
Yeah.
Like as much as
Biology.
we are more the same than we're different, but those differences are unexplainable. Like you can't possibly know what it feels like to have my rib cage. So it's like, and I also can't just take any piece of singing advice when it comes to like diaphragm stuff, because I have scoliosis. And so like speaking of my rib cage, like my right rib cage is actually like half an inch like more like deflated than my left rib cage. So it's like little things like that, like you like know thyself, which is only going to take you actually with your own taste, hearing yourself and knowing what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Because the other thing too is like I'm not always just trying to like sing like Mariah Carey or like really clean or really precise or really pretty. Like I want to sound like what I want to sound like.
Yeah.
And so I'm not trying to sing like pretty breathy like elevator John Mayer tone. Like I want to sound like me, but just like the best me,
Right. That's Raine.
So hey man, should we play each other some music?
Yeah. You want to do a song?
Yeah, let's get
Want to
into
lay
it.
one on us? What's the song called? Tell us about it a little bit.
So, speaking of heady things, as if we haven't been already, this song is called Lydia. This song is about conversations, that you meet somebody, especially when I was younger and I didn't really feel like my peers could relate to me very well. I remember like meeting this person and being like, man, I really feel loved, like through our conversation and through the fact that uh I don't have to like explain myself so much, but in the process of not having to like backtrack on what it is that I'm trying to say because you just are following, I feel like we can just continue to explore more worlds.
Yeah.
And so this song is really a love song, but more specifically it's that. So anyways, here it is.
Great.
Well, I can't take my heart off of you. Your words melt me where I stand. And when you speak my name, I feel my face is being held your sound's hands. Ooh, succumb to the other side. Oh, I saw you living in these dimensions, and you saw the light that's in my mind. Well, coming to this place, it's a time that's without, always without a face. Oh, and there's no time that will ever get in this space. So go ahead and just lose your old ways. Your friends think that we're a dichotomy, but God mixed our souls in a bowl. Before putting them in a separate bodies. So when yours is with mine, I feel whole. Ooh, come to the other side. Yeah. Oh, I saw you living in these dimensions, and you saw the light that's in my mind. Coming to this place, it's a time that's without, oh, it's without a face. Oh, and there is no time that will ever be in this space. So go ahead and snooze your old ways. Oh, baby. Throughout this life and world, there's been so much strife and hurt, but I know it'll be alright, it'll be okay if you're here with me. Throughout this life and world, there will be so much strife and hurt, but I know it'll be alright, it'll be okay if you're here with Well, I can't take my heart off of you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Woo! What was that very last chord you played there? That was lovely.
Oh, it's an E sus2. Hold on.
Thought so. Definitely hearing a little Buckley's Last Goodbye and that chorus pattern.
Oh yeah, the is it this this one?
C to, where do you go? C. What do you got going on there? C to, is that
So I'm going E
E, C.
to this is actually a it looks like C sharp minor, but
Yeah.
over here, but it's actually it's an F sharp minor chord. Hold on. B like add 9.
Definitely an E to start the pattern, right?
Yeah, it's basically I'm just walking up the E major scale. So then I go to G sharp to A.
Right. It's a little less
Um,
goodbye, right? That's a little bit on the chorus.
I'm not
But
sure.
I think
I'll
the
have to
bridge
look
is
at it again.
before, maybe before he goes into the chorus, but that
Right.
was great.
Thank you.
Nice work. How'd it feel?
It felt good. I remember that I had forgotten. Usually, I have like a little vocal, like one of those Helicon pedals that I can add a little reverb to. So I was like in the middle of it. I was like, oh yeah, I didn't set that up. So it was very like dry, but it didn't really take me out of my groove. So yeah,
No, it's very
I enjoy playing that song. It's a fun guitar part. I like writing guitar parts that like aren't like crazy, but
yeah.
are are interesting enough that like it's tickling my brain while I'm singing so that just no matter what, like I'm having a good time, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely with the Buckley electric and voice influence there too, which is great. I'm super excited to have you. We haven't totally announced yet, but I guess we can a little bit here. The
Yeah.
Electric Moon Foundation 1 year anniversary show. You're going to be
Yeah.
joining us. It's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. I can't wait. Hotel Cafe.
What's the let's give the people the date for that. Give them all the details.
December 18th. We're going to have the big anniversary 1 year. We pretty much, I was in Michigan last year or in December. January, pretty much we formed Electric Moon Foundation at that time. So we're going on a year and we've been able to do amazing things this year. And we're going to have a big celebration at Hotel Cafe on December 18th with some of my favorites.
That's super fun. I'm excited to be a part of it. This is gonna be a cool kickoff, man. That's fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah.
Are we gonna have, I know there's a bar there. Is there gonna be, are you thinking about having food there at all?
I don't think we'll have food because Hotel Cafe isn't really. I don't know if I have food, but we'll have, the silent auction. We'll have,
Sure, yeah.
raffle, giveaways, all kinds of good stuff all night.
So eat and then come.
Yeah, probably eat a little bit and then head on out. But yeah, we're gonna have some great acts. Kyle East with Art Santoro.
Oh yeah.
Santoro's gonna, yeah, Kyle in art, right?
Yeah, I do.
They're gonna be
I've met him.
there. Tawny Ellis, Deb Morrison, Amanda Mosier, and Scarlett Riviera, who used to play with Bob Dylan.
Oh, very cool.
Violin, yeah, back on the Thunder. Drawing a blank. That tour that Bob Dylan did, Rolling Thunder tour. She played.
Okay.
So yes, and then you, and then I'm gonna do an Arthur Autumn set, which I haven't been able to do in quite some time, just because I've been pretty tied up with Electric Moon Foundation and all that comes with. So it's gonna be a beautiful night.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Give us the
All right, we're
shit.
gonna do a little tune. So this song is off of my last record that I released in 2018, and it was pretty much documenting its long story short. It started out as a personal record, as I normally do, and well, I mix it up each time. The last record was a little bit indirect. I kind of wrote in characters, but this record started out personal, and then it was written around 2016, and we all know what happened there, what we saw coming, the dangers of that, and the
That's
future.
crazy.
Yeah, and I pretty much was like, you know what? It's not the time to write about myself right now. We kind of need to document, as Nina Simone said, as if you're an artist, I think you should document the world around you. So I shifted gears to kind of write about, not protest songs to sound cliche, but it was kind of documenting what was happening in the world, what was coming, and the dangers of it. And this one was written, I think, right at the tail end, being very direct about what was coming, and it's called One Eye Open, One Eye Closed.
picking up your sand for miles around. Yeah, around. You build all your bonds, you tear down the schools. It's not what I learned, it's not the golden rule. Yeah, the rule. So give us something true, we see right through. So give us something true. Yeah, I guess I sleep with one eye open, I'm checking my pulse. Is everybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open. Jagged as a river that runs through your veins, wild as a horse that swallows the train. Yeah, train. And wicked your tongue, your actions unclear, eyebrows raised, brought on with a sneer, a sneer. So give us something true, we see right through. So give us something true. You know, yes, I sleep with one eye open, I'm checking my pulse. Is everybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open. I wanna go to Mars, wanna be around, rubbing my eyes as the ship goes down. It goes down. We're coming on strong, we're coming on quick. Ain't nothing you can do that we can't fix. We can't fix. Give us something true, we see right through. So give us something true. And I guess I sleep with one eye open, I'm checking my pulse. Is everybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open, I'm checking my pulse. Is everybody breathing? I guess I sleep with one eye open and one eye closed.
Yeah.
Thank you, Raine.
Your vibrato is beautiful, man.
Thank you. You know, it's funny you bring that up because we're doing Electric Moon Foundation after school programs for the kids, and much of what we're doing at Alexander House, by the way. And if you guys don't know the great work of Alexander House, check them out at
Alexander House. I'll definitely.
Yeah, alexanderhouse.org. Please check them out, guys. They're doing amazing work in the community. So we're grateful enough to bring music programs to the kids, and we're doing a holiday program. You know, we're going to do some caroling, stuff like that. And I was kind of teaching the kids how to warm up your voice and the little fun things that you do, the diaphragm check, the lips, and all that stuff. The stuff that we go through for rigorous shows when we have to perform for a couple hours, you know, the whole thing.
Right, yeah.
And I was kind of teaching them a bit about bravado, Fugo. And it's so funny. So their muscles aren't developed enough, so they'll just kind of shake. They'll go Fugo to try to get the sound. Yeah, you've got that. Give me a little bit. Give us
of my own vibrato. Let me see. I need to think about something. Guess I'll sleep with one eye open.
Nice.
I feel like my vibrato is really weird. Let me try to think of another song where it's like I love a man in love with his own tragedy, With the push-pull of hate, his spark, validity. Right, yeah. I feel like my voice, like, I feel like didn't really used to naturally vibrato. And now I don't. I like that I can like kind of add and subtract or control it a little bit more, but I don't really have to do that as much. Like my voice actually, will just
Yeah.
naturally vibrato, and the speed
Yes.
of my vibrato changes a lot depending on
Yeah.
where I am in my register. It's really
I
interesting.
think
But
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like, for instance, Freddie Mercury's was extraordinary. I think
yeah,
his the way his mouth was shaped and his muscles, or Steven Tyler, that I think it's in you, but at the same time, it's a muscle thing, you
right.
know.
You can
It's
train it.
years. Yeah, you can train it. You can go in and out of it. You can, you know,
Right. Right, right.
and
Right.
go in
Yeah.
and out of it just from doing it, singing over crappy PAs for years, over loud rock bands, and it's
Yep.
just like I was telling the kids, it's like, guys, it's building up your muscle and doing it and practicing, and it's just like anything else. If I were to tell you to, run to the end of the block, that's about, half a mile, and do that within a minute and a half or 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If I tell you to do it now, you're not going to be able to do it. But if you work at it for a couple
Right.
months, guess
Right.
what? You're going to hit that 2 minute mark, and you're gonna get it. So your voice, same in meditation, your mind, it's all their muscles. It just takes time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but you've got a lot of buckling in you, and and Nina Simone, and a lot of people, and that's why I admire you so much, Raine, because
Thank you.
I can tell you've done your homework. You've
Yeah,
done your homework.
I I don't even know if I can give myself that much credit just um because I haven't even really done my homework that much. Like I didn't know who Prince was until recently. I didn't
Oh,
know
I'm
who
glad you brought
Jeff
it.
I didn't know who Jeff Buckley was until recently. Um I mean, it's not, yeah, man, it's just like there's actually a lot of stuff that I don't know. And I think um uh I was on The Voice last year, and
That's right. Tell me
they
about
were
that.
asking us yeah, they're asking us some questions about ourselves, and one of the questions was like, what's something that people wouldn't expect? And I answered a few different things about me, but one of them was like, yeah, that I don't actually listen to music as much as people might think that I do. Like I've gone like, a few days in a row without like intentionally seeking out like listening to a song, which might sound crazy. Um, but I just don't. It's one of those things like where you kind of live in at a certain point you live and breathe it so much that like it's not that you're like, oh, when I
Part of
sit
your
down
way.
and play guitar, that's the only music I need. But you know what I mean? Like it's just not quite as much as you might think. I think I should start doing more homework, especially just about like music business and about these various platforms and about artists I admire and their journey. And like I'd love to do more homework. So I'm not saying that it's not neither like good or bad. I think there's pros and cons to both. I think
Sure.
one of the pros of me not having really done a ton of my research is that like uh my sound is really mine.
Yeah.
And whatever I create, like I remember I wrote this song. I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but just it's called I'm Not Them. That one's out. But
Yeah.
like there's a guitar solo in there, and people would come up to me after my shows and be like, "Man, that was a very like Prince-esque guitar solo." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Mm.
And so I wrote that song when I was 15, but it wasn't until I was 19, uh, turning 20, that I actually like really listened to any of his discography. Now, of course, I had like heard Purple Rain before and I'd heard Kiss before, but I didn't even know that they were his songs. And I didn't really
Yeah.
know anything outside of that. It was not
Yeah.
until I was like actually asked to be a part of a Prince tribute band that I then learned, like When Doves Cry and Darling Nikki and, you know,
We
uh,
did Darling Nikki
but
the other night.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to do even more homework because I think I've almost like, I think I maybe I'm just like really spongy when it comes to this stuff. So like, even if
Yeah,
I don't know it,
yeah.
like, and I hear,
Osmosis.
yeah, exactly. If I hear something even once when I was like 3, like I don't know that
Yeah,
I had heard Jeff Buckley's Hallelujah, but I did, you know?
yeah.
And so, but I'm not, that's the thing is like, if I am emulating people, it's very innocently and I have no idea,
Mm,
you know? But
yeah,
I'm not saying I'm not doing it. I'm just saying if I am, like it's subconscious.
yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and on my side of things, I think it's just absorbing. You can find your own voice by just absorbing a ton. Like
For
I
sure,
love
yeah.
I love everything from Andre 3000 to Tori Amos to
Right.
Jeff Buckley to Rufus Wainwright. You know, the list is long.
Right.
So if you pull to Chuck D to Zach De La Roca, you know, there's so many people that I pull from that it just becomes you take it all in and then
Yeah.
you channel it out into like, oh my gosh, like if there's it's just your own unique style because you've just researched so many people. And it's kind of like if you go to like any school, if you go to medical school, you're learning about everything. You're a medical doctor, so it's our
Right.
job to just kind of gather and listen and not study or homework per se. Maybe those words are, you know, dangerous words in our craft, but just not even research, just taking it all in and just putting on a record and just, but maybe you have that gift of just absorbing it quickly too. And you just hear it once and it becomes a part of you.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure, but I also do know that uh I listened, I think I had heard maybe not all, but most fundamentals of music by the time I picked up a guitar, you know? I had heard, you know, a blues shuffle and I had heard swing and I had heard
Yeah.
a funk song and I had heard, so it's like I knew all of that existed. But I might not have heard like a specific artist. So I think, I listened to a lot of Stevie Ray Vaughan when I was growing up,
Hmm.
and I listened to a lot of like Sublime and Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah.
But I really do feel like my musical world was really narrow. And when you consider like who I was actually listening to, I don't really feel like I was writing music like them. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a lot
Interesting.
more pop and like funk and soul tendencies than a lot of the people I was being exposed to when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But also like I do remember being really, really big fans of like Yes. And when you think
Ah,
about
really?
what's a great song by Yes? Well, all of them, but like a really great song by Yes.
True.
Like what's great for all of us and what's great for Yes within the world of Yes might be two different things. Um
Odyssey is there? I've got Odyssey on vinyl, I think. I think it's
yeah.
Odyssey, I believe.
Oh man.
That's a band that you can just put on some headphones and you're just off to space. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
dude. But
Those
yeah,
Yes records.
so it's like I was exposed to really, really great music, of course, but I guess what I'm just trying to say is like um it's like I had listened to John Mayer when I was like 13. I was exposed to him and then, listened to quite a bit of him in my teen years. But I didn't know who Jeff Buckley was until after I was
Wow.
an adult. So
You know,
it's
my
crazy.
discovery of Jeff Buckley, I was taken under a wing of a pretty big band at the time in Michigan, and I think they're just coming back from a tour with Kiss in the late '90s, and the drummer became a pretty good friend, and it was either the drummer or the keyboard player, and he made a tape of all these artists that I should listen to because I'm like, man, how do I expand? And he's like older than me, and he's like kind of a mentor, and he handed me this tape, and it had Radiohead on it when they were first coming out. It had Jeff Buckley on it. It
Oh
had
man.
ELO. It had an ELO song on it. It had a really deep cut Stone Temple Pilots song, and he's like,
Gosh, what year was this?
this would have been probably 99, I think, maybe 2000. But I think it was more like probably 99 because Jeff was gone in 97.
Yeah,
Had
so
died.
Jeff had already died.
Buckley.
Damn.
Yeah, Jeff Buckley, we lost him in 97.
So I remember he died in 97. Did
30.
so you didn't know who Jeff was like while he was still alive?
I don't think so, Raine. I don't think I did.
I don't think a
Which is
lot of people did, man. I think a lot of people became Jeff Buckley fans
after.
after he
Yeah.
died. Yes. Oh, so
He
unfortunate.
he was coming up quick though. I mean, Chris Cornell was a huge fan. Robert Plant was a big fan of Jeff Buckley's. Tom York, the song Fake Plastic Trees was written or recorded after Radiohead had gone. Tom York had gone to see Jeff Buckley perform. And he raced back to the studio and tried to emulate Jeff Buckley. And we got Fake Plastic Trees out of it, which is quite. Do you know that song by Radiohead?
I probably do, but I'm terrible with names.
So
I have to be beaten over the head with something several times before it sticks.
Well, check it out. Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead. It's a beautiful song. It was recorded the night after their minds were blown seeing Jeff Buckley. But anyway, yeah, he was coming up quick. And I still don't think he's had the exposure that he deserves. I mean, I think he was one of the greatest singers easily ever. And at his time, he didn't reach that. I think what happened too, Raine, is that I think he was overshadowed by, the Nirvanas and the Pearl Jams and the Soundgardens and the Alice in Chains that had. Jeff was doing his own thing. Jeff was covering Nina Simone and Hank Williams and Bob Dylan, and these guys were in a different. So I think Jeff, sadly, was a little bit overshadowed by that big media push of that. And even though Jeff was a huge fan of those bands and he adored them, especially Nirvana, from what I've read, but I think part of it was where he was just on his own planet, and I think he wasn't buying into the grunge thing, I guess, in such a way, I guess. So maybe.
Yeah, and it's. I wonder too if part of it is that like Alice in Chains, as much as I hate to say it, is like a cooler name than Jeff Buckley. So like sometimes like branding is a part of these things. And Jeff Buckley didn't really have a brand. He was just Jeff Buckley. And so I mean that's a really big testament. It's a really big testament to the enormity with which his presence and his talent
absolutely right.
It just existed and was and is. But unfortunately, if you don't, because of the way our memories and likes and dislikes work, like there has to be really strong association. So if you can make, I mean, like when you think about like Stevie Ray Vaughan, you think about John Mayer, and you think about Jimi Hendrix, and you think about Alpine Valley, and you think about like there's just so many like connections, I think, for a lot of people. Even though I would say that Stevie Ray Vaughan also died too young, I think he was famous earlier and for longer than Jeff. But like Jeff Buckley would like kick Stevie Ray Vaughan's ass any day singing, like in my opinion. I think obviously, of course, hands down, Stevie Ray Vaughan was a much better guitar player, and I think they're both extremely soulful, and it's kind of apples and oranges. But I just think if Jeff Buckley had frankly, like John Mayer is like not like that much better of a name, but he's just like got like a brand and like all these girlfriends that he's no longer with, and his Playboy magazine thing, and like he's had some drama surrounding him, and he's been a really, really well-known and great singer and guitar player and songwriter for a long time, and he's still alive, and you know what I mean? So like at this point, and he's also just been on a lot of other people's records. I just think the thing with Jeff Buckley is like he was just this like little pocket of magic, and either you're in on it, you know about it, or you don't. And so it's like for anybody who sees this, like hopefully by the number of times that we've mentioned Jeff, um like your interest is piqued.
Yeah.
Don't be dissuaded by maybe the kind of almost surface superficial level of like vagueness about Jeff. Like Jeff was like rock, but Jeff was also Jeff,
Yeah.
and Jeff was
Yeah.
gorgeous and haunting and tear jerking, and didn't even have that big of a discography. Like I wish that Jeff had like 5 albums out, but he unfortunately had like, I don't know, like an album and a half and some live
Yeah. It's
performance
crazy.
footage, and that's about it. But like what he did was just so damn good
Yeah.
that like he's just continuing to echo on, even if it's like in a pretty narrow lane. Um, and so yeah, I mean, I'm glad that like I kind of attracted Jeff Buckley to myself um by reminding people of him through like
Yeah.
my soulful performances. I
Yeah.
think we're very different artists, but I think a song that people would like kind of be like, "Oh, that was very Jeff Buckley" or something like that was when I would do like a song I wrote when I was 17 called "Sorry." I'll just play a little bit of the chorus for you. It's like a I'm sorry, I can't seem to save them from themselves. Don't you worry, no, 'cause we're not responsible for anyone else. And I'm sorry. Man, I'm like
Yeah.
this yeah, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's like a soulful thing. And I feel like with singing into this mic, I almost like don't want to like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like blowing the mic out. But yeah,
Yeah.
he would, yeah, man, he's great.
I'll share with you a very personal Jeff Buckley story as we close the night out. I don't tell
Yeah,
the
please
story
do.
much. Do you want to hear this story?
Please do.
So
Show
it's
me.
pretty heavy. It's one of the most amazing moments of my life. Not even to mention, music moments. But we had done. I've been a Jeff Buckley disciple since I got that tape, and
Disciple.
music touches me, and I've tried to gather as much from Jeff Buckley as I can. And we got asked to do a Jeff Buckley tribute. They do these tribute shows to Jeff Buckley that his mom puts on, and some other people. I think they do it in Chicago and Los
Oh man, I
Angeles.
definitely want to be a part of that if I can. Or they do they
Yeah,
continue?
yeah. So somehow I got looped into one a few years ago, and we did "Nightmares by the Sea." Do you know that song off "My Sweetheart the Drunk"?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we did is we kind of stripped it down, and we put a lap steel on it and a didgeridoo, and we sat cross-legged on these, like, we kind of gave it like this kind of
I can
Indian.
see it now.
Yeah, we kind of gave it this Indian vibe, and I had this red frilly jacket that was very Jeff Buckley when he was wild, and it's kind of Elton John-ish and a little maybe Scott Weiland. But anyway, I had this red jacket, and we sat cross-legged. We all did, and lap steel and guitar, and then a didgeridoo, and we stripped that song back. Do you know the song, Raine? Do you know that "Nightmares by the Sea"? Do
Yes, I do.
you know that? Yeah, it's beautiful. So we stripped it all back. So we played at the end of the night, and we're kind of just hanging out in the crowd and just taking in the night, and just it was just an honor to be there. And the room started to kind of clear out, and this woman comes up to me, and she kind of has tears in her eyes, and she was wearing these kind of glasses, and she comes up to me, and she goes, "Hi, I'm Jeff Buckley's mom." And
Oh
she
man.
goes, "Yeah, wait till you hear what she says." She goes, "That was beautiful. Jeff would have loved that."
You know,
I'm not sure what to say. It was an astounding moment, and she had tears in her eyes on top of it, and it was just like, what do you say? It just floored me. It floored me, Rain, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It just was. it was just nice to be in the room and pay tribute to Jeff, and then have his mother, say, "Hey, thanks." And Jeff would have loved that. It was just like, geesh, it was a pretty powerful moment that I've carried in my heart ever since. And maybe that's why I go for those notes that I can't really hit, and my heart has to come through moments like that.
Absolutely. I mean, like, it's like having an angel reach down and like touch your shoulder and be like, "You're all right, kid."
Yeah, or
You know,
it's gonna be okay.
it's
Or
gonna be
you
okay.
know, yeah, it was definitely that moment. I've had more than several of those moments. I'm grateful for them, but I
Right.
think it's again. I think it's like you said, Rain. You said you have to open up your heart and you have to put those antennas up, and you have to
Sure.
have those antennas be a little bit crooked and a little bit
Yeah.
wounded and a little bit vulnerable, so that you can capture, so that those spirits are comfortable coming to you. Because if you're strong and full of ego, they're just gonna pass you by.
Yep.
They have to see that, you know they can go through you to help someone else out a little bit, maybe
Yeah, you
through
have to be
your work.
willing to be a vessel, and
Yeah,
that there needs to be a bit of selflessness. And in those moments, like, I find myself being the most not selfish but self-full. Um, so that's kind of the beauty of that, is like, when you're vulnerable, you're not weak. You're just like almost visited by awesomeness, by like
yeah,
allowing yourself to have more space. Um, which you already always have. It's just like, you're either, it's funny because when you relax and you allow things to flow,
right.
it's kind of like riding a bike. Like, once you start actually riding, you're a little bit like, how come I could never do this?
Forgetting about the mechanics, you're just riding the bike.
Yeah, exactly. Now you're just riding the bike. And I think that that's a lot of what just life is about. But like, really good like music performing and writing is like just kind of like letting your own uh yeah, like removing your almost awareness of self,
Yeah,
so that you can just be like this really intelligent, um conscious awareness of your surroundings. It's like when you look at your dog and your dog's like, "I don't think my dog is thinking about my dog. I think my dog is thinking about like her own sensory input of the environment." And so it's like, if you're able to do that with art, but marry like the gift and curse, depending on how you utilize it, of like our frontal cortex. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
if you're able to do that, I mean, you can make really, really wondrous things, but you have to get out of your own way. And
you're right. I was
so
gonna say, you gotta get out of the way. You have to get out of your own way. I constantly try to remember that, each day. Is just kind of let stuff be and let them flow and get out of your way. I think that's a big thing. But I think we'll wrap it up pretty much. We've gone a little bit over time. It's been such
yeah,
a wonderful chat
okay,
with you. But I want to mention another thing. So we haven't announced it officially, but
yeah,
we're announcing a few things tonight. That's all right
yeah,
to all the viewers. But we're gonna do the Sunday Night Review, November 13th, Sunday.
yep,
Prince,
very fun. Oh, hell yeah.
you want to
Okay,
join us? You around?
absolutely. I'm
All
around.
right, let's.
Let's do it.
I'm around. Brilliant. We'd love to have you.
If I wasn't around, I am now.
Oh, I'll
No,
be
that's no,
around.
I
I'm
don't.
around.
Yeah, yeah. And also I've got a song coming out soon. It's being mixed by Jimmy Douglas. He's worked with Aretha Franklin, Timbaland, Justin Timberlake, Led Zeppelin. Like, he's a sound engineer on a lot of great records. So I'm really excited about this.
Great.
And if it speaks any volumes about the record, he definitely was like, "I'm not gonna work on any song I don't like believe in or I don't like." So Jimmy likes this song. He works with great people, so I don't know.
Great.
Maybe this is a great song. Maybe you guys should go and pre-save it. But you can. My name is Raine, Raine, Stern, Stern. You can go and pre-save the song. through TikTok, through Instagram, wherever you'd like to go and look me up and find it out. But yeah, the pre-save link is there. And then I've also got since I'm a really big fan of Halloween. Are you a big fan of Halloween, Brent?
Absolutely, yeah.
I kind of figured you would be.
Yeah.
But I've got one of my first like my full band shows here at the end of the month at the Viper Room, which is going to be closing down. So for many reasons, y'all should come check it out. One is going to be like a costume party, so all of the bands that are playing that night, a lot of great talent, and all of the guests and people who bought tickets so far, to my knowledge, planning on coming dressed up. And it's gonna be, if you like 80s synthy rock, if you like funky music with horns, and you like high energy, and you like fantasy, like this is definitely a night to come check out. And the Viper Room is not going to be around for longer than a few months. So definitely October 29th. It's the last Saturday of this month at midnight. We're playing. I'd show up at, let's say we're playing at 11:30.
Yeah.
You know, and then definitely pre-save So Precarious. That's the name of the song.
What's it about exactly? What's the vibe like?
So Precarious is like if I had you know what? Listen, we're gonna do this like old school as heck. But this song is about kind of being sarcastically like in these relationships where you feel like you're providing almost value or connection or purpose for these other people in these relationships who want more from you than you are really capable of giving them at the time. But like, because that's kind of been the nature of a lot of like romantic partnerships I've had, where I just feel like, especially as a young person who's like actively pursuing something I'm passionate about, I feel like I tend to have other young people who are not totally sure like what, you know, they're passionate about yet, kind of glom onto me and sort of kind of like vicariously like feed off of that.
Yeah.
And so this song is me kind of sarcastically being like blaming myself for being like the bad guy, and like that's why I'm not happy in these relationships, and it's because I'm evil and like I can't really connect to people, as opposed to me just like accepting the situation and seeing it for what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a tale as old as time. But here's the vibe of the song. Go ahead. So precarious. That's all you get. That's all you get for now. But yeah, it's really funky. Yeah, that's a little baby teeth. Yeah, it's gonna be good. I'm really excited. So yeah, that we've got a couple of things. We've got Electric Moon's got a couple of things coming up. We got, you still got the Hotel Cafe Prince tribute show. We should definitely go and follow Brent and Electric Moon on Instagram. Follow Raine Stern on Instagram, because if you've already forgotten those details that we've given you guys, all of that stuff will be posted and available for you to see permanently there. So yeah, Brent.
Yeah, this will go up on the Electric Moon podcast, so people can kind of go back and watch it.
We can cut snippets from this, maybe.
What's that?
We can maybe like cut little 10-second snippets from this and be like, yo, check this out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the key. So yeah, we've got so December 18th, Electric Moon Foundation first year anniversary, holiday party, fundraiser, that sort of thing, with some of Los Angeles' finest musicians and songwriters. Raine's going to be there. Hotel Cafe, November 13th, with the Sunday Night Review, in tribute to the great Prince. And then check out Raine's single, right? Find her on Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love it, Raine. It's been a real honor to have you here today.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I'm a huge fan. I'm a very big fan.
Appreciate you.
So very cool. So thank you for being here. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time. Be good to one another. Be nice. It's really easy to do.
And to yourself.
That's right. That's true. That's very important as well. And we'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody. See ya.